Jesse Prince was a Scientologist from 1976 to 1992. According to Scientology, he was the second highest ranking member at one point. Jesse has endured Scientology captivity for nearly a year and has worked at Gold Base Camp in California.
Thank you, people, for being here and being interested in what happens in this organization. One thing about Scientology that has it on a decline is the fact that its founder and leader, L. Ron Hubbard, is dead. It's just taken the rest of the organization a moment to realize that he really is dead. Scientology, as a new science or a theory, is something that was born and spawned from the 40s and 50s Cold War era where, you know, you kind of had a renaissance of new ideas along psychology and psychiatry to actually help people get better. And Scientology at one point kind of ran neck and neck with these things in the public eye because it was a very cheap way for people to receive psychology or psychiatry to get some form of treatment, which was at a point in time very desirable. Well, in the Boston Globe, a columnist named Alex Beam paraphrased said that Scientology is one of the greatest anti-intellectual movements of our time. People are dying at the hands of Scientology because, for one thing, L. Ron Hubbard thought that to receive radiation treatment was to activate mentally retarded space aliens in your body, which would then cause you great distress. So, literally, I've known staff members, in one case in particular, which is very pitiful, a woman, Diane Morrison, that served in Scientology 10 to 12 years as a staff member, and she was diagnosed with cancer. Well, of course, she wasn't allowed to get treated. And I literally watched this woman who weighed probably maybe 150, 160 pounds deteriorate to 65 pounds. I watched her go from being a happy, somewhat happy person, even if deluded, into a person that just silently, and maybe not so silently, but weakly cried all day and all night. And they literally killed her because L. Ron Hubbard thought gamma rays was a bad thing. Lisa McPherson is another example of that. L. Ron Hubbard figures psychiatry is bad, so she's denied the real way that keeps these type of people alive when they have these psychotic episodes. But in this particular case with Lisa, not only is the technology arcane that's trying to be used to deal with her, no one cared about her. She had roach bites, bruises, basically thrown in the corner and neglected, died of dehydration. I've been through situations where a person had a psychotic episode. I've known of them. And you know, people have lived through the other side of it. And normally they're immediately gotten rid of because they're a threat to Scientology. Scientology's whole attitude about these kind of incidents are, get them away from us. It's not one of caring, simply because Scientology is not a church. It never started out that way. It was never intended to be that way. It became a church to operate with impunity against its critics and enemies, which it pretty much liberally does today. Cults usually go away after the founder or the originator is gone. Well, this one right now is being upheld by a fella, well, a core group of people, maybe 3 or 4 people, that were close aides to L. Ron Hubbard, one in particular, David Miscavige, who himself is it takes ignorance to maintain this type of, I don't know, arcane ideas from the 50s. David Miscavige never really had any formal education. He's a high school dropout and a second-generation Scientologist. So he was raised in the delusion, and he himself really doesn't know any better, and he's vicious. Therefore, for this reason, he is pretty much, he and this other, few other people are what is keeping this thing alive. I work every day to expose the criminality of these people, because they really are criminals. They've done criminal acts, which I spoke about on the radio show, I've written about, and I will be participating in more activities to expose the actual criminality at the top. Because the fact of the matter is, the people that run Scientology do not believe in Scientology. They run it as any business or any corporation in America. The only difference is they have an extremely good intelligence network, and they operate with impunity to silence their critics. It's unfortunate that people have to die. It's unfortunate that more people probably will die before this is over. And the greatest misfortune to the citizens of America in relationship to Scientology is that they can operate with impunity. Somehow, they've intimidated the IRS into being compliant to their wishes. And I know that sounds unrealistic. Like, how can a little group of crazed church people influence our government? How can a little group of crazed pseudo-church people even intimidate our police system? Well, they have. And it's a miracle that the state of Florida has prosecuted them for the death of one of its, of a citizen, and also how long it took and the amount of pressure that Scientology brought against the Clearwater Police Department. I tell you, it takes standing up and recognizing it for what it is. A dead, arcane idea, long past its prime, backed by ignorance. And we have to, each and every one of us, I feel, have a responsibility. At least I know I feel I have a responsibility to stand up every day against them. I remember when Mr. Casares was the mayor here in Clearwater. I was at the picket and the demonstrations that he used to have, but I was on the other side. I remember watching through the window at all of these people, and why do they not like Scientology? I was always so curious. Why all this ruckus? You know, it seems like Scientology is somewhat of a good thing. Well, being a Scientologist, you are not allowed to watch television. You're not allowed to read newspapers. So you're very detached from the world. Coming back into the world after being in Scientology for 16 years with basically a blanket over my head took me quite a while to reconnect with Scientology, with society. As a matter of fact, the process is still ongoing as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, after being able to separate and then do something about it, it has caused great distress to my family. Scientology hires private investigators to go around and speak to every one of my brothers and sisters, my children, my friends, my business associates. I've lost contacts as a result of Scientology's harassive and investigative tactics. While you're in Scientology, you know, you go through this process called auditing, well, which is counseling, which is, you know, supposed to be psychological counseling or whatever, whereby you divulge your inner feelings, secrets, things that may be embarrassing if they were known to the general public. As we sit here having this conference, they are doing this to people, and they carefully write down everything. Well, should you ever oppose them, they take that information, write it up, and they send it to your family. They send it to your friends. They send it to your business associates. Now, other religions practice confession. They never do that. As a matter of fact, it would be against the law, but these people operate with terroristic impunity, and we're changing that. We're here today to honor Lisa McPherson and other people who have died at the hands of Scientology. I'm going to stand here and tell you, I myself have participated in criminal activities for the sake of the church. But you know what? You don't have to keep doing it. I realize I don't have to keep doing it. I realize that I don't have to be afraid to say what happened. Breaking the silence, because when you break the silence, you break the terror. So, in closing, I'd just like to say thank you. This is a rough war. It's more serious than people believe, but we're making progress. We're dealing with people that are ignorant, and we're going to bring them down. Thank you.